Well, good afternoon and welcome back to the Little French Homestead. If you are new to my channel today, my name is Sherry. I'm going to leave all the descriptions below of what I'm making here today after the video. So, does it feel like you can't go a week without seeing another scary headline about food recalls? One day it's frozen fruit, the next it's cucumbers contaminated with salmonella, or even peanut butter. You see those alerts on your phone or on the news, and suddenly your normal trip to the grocery store feels like a game of chance. You find yourself staring at a product you've bought 100 times and thinking, is this safe? Why does this keep happening? The constant drumbeats of recalls can make it feel like the whole system is broken and that the food on our shelves is less safe than ever. If you feel that way, you are definitely not alone. The number of recalls has been climbing. For example, one report noted that the number of food and beverage units recalled in the U.S. shot up dramatically between the end of 2025 and the start of 2026. And these aren't just some tiny obscure shops. These are the major retailers where millions of us buy our grocery stores every single day. So what is really going on in our food, and is it genuinely getting more dangerous? Well, the answer is a little bit more complicated than you might think. I'm going to be breaking down the surprising reasons behind these spikes in recalls and look at some of the most shocking cases in history. And most importantly, go over the simple, vital steps that you can take to make sure the food you bring home is safe to eat. Now, to get our heads around the floods of recall, we have to start with this weird paradox. More recalls don't automatically mean our food is less safe. In some ways, it is actually a sign that our system designed to protect us are working better. There are a few key factors driving what we're seeing. First and foremost is a huge leap in the detection technology. For decades, figuring out the source of a foodborne illness was finding a needle in a global haystack. But today, scientists have an incredible tool called world genome sequencing. You can think of it as a super detailed DNA fingerprint for bacteria. When people get sick, health officials can sequence the bacteria's entire genetic code and upload it to a massive database. When they find a match between sick people in different states, and then a match that same bacteria fingerprint to a food sample, they can pinpoint the source of an outbreak with amazing precision. This lets them recall contaminating products much faster, often before a small problem becomes a catastrophe. So we're not just seeing more contamination, we are getting way faster at finding it. The second reason is mind-boggling complexity of our global supply chain. Just think about your own kitchen. That bag of frozen berries, the spices in your cabinet, and the fish maybe in your freezer. Where did it all come from? The reality is our food travels thousands of miles. The U.S. imports over half of its fresh produce and a third of its fresh vegetables. And that is just a part of the picture. Every border and ingredient crosses every truck it's loaded onto, and every warehouse it sits in another potential spot for contamination or failure in the refrigerator. Tracing a problem gets exponentially harder when a single frozen pizza has cheese from one country, flour from another, and spices from a third. This global system puts enormous pressure on quality control. Third, our food production has become incredibly consolidated. We've shifted from a world of many small local producers to one dominant by massive centralized facilities. Picture a single plant that processes millions of pounds of ground beef, or a factory making snacks for dozens of different brands. This is efficient, sure, but it also carries a huge risk of pathogens like E. coli or Listeria can get into one of these mega facilities. It doesn't just spoil a small batch. It can contaminate millions of items that get shipped to every corner of the country. This is how a single contamination event can lead to recall of tens of millions of products, creating a massive ripple effect. Finally, there's regulation. Back in 2011, the U.S. passed the Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA, a landmark law that changed the FDA's focus from just reacting to an outbreak to actively preventing them. It strengthens the FDA's authority, giving it the power to issue a mandatory recall if a company refuses to do so voluntarily. Before FSMA, the agency had to rely on more heavily pressured companies to recalling their own products. This stronger regulatory muscle combines with better detection technology means that both the government and the companies themselves are catching and acting on the problems more often, which, you guessed it, leads to more recalls. Understanding the why is one thing, but it's vital to remember what's at stake. These aren't just statistics, they represent real threats to people's health. To see how serious this can be, let's revisit a few of the most significant recalls in recent history. Our first story is a grim reminder of how devastating pathogens can be. In 1998, the Sara Lee Corporation recalled a staggering 35 million pounds of hot dog and deli meats. The products sold under the trusted names like Ballpark were contaminated with a nasty strain of Listeria. Listeria is especially dangerous because it can survive and grow in even cold temperatures of a refrigerator. The outbreak ultimately caused over 100 illnesses and tragically linked to 21 deaths. It was a horrific event that became one of the deadliest Listeria outbreaks in the U.S. history and highlighted just how critical sanitation is for ready-to-eat foods. Now, let's talk about foreign objects, because sometimes the danger is something you'd never dream of finding in your food. In May of 2024, a story out of Japan sent shivers down consumers' spines. A major food company called Pasco Shanikima Corporation had to recall over 100,000 packs of its popular sliced bread. The reason? The bread was contaminated with parts of a black rat. It's believed the animal got into the facility's assembly line, and while obviously this is an extremely rare case, it is a terrifying reminder of the constant battle food producers face to keep their facilities clean. And then finally, we have the most common reason for these recalls: undeclared allergens. Year after year, mistakes in labeling are the top causes of food recall. Think about the products that are supposed to be dairy-free but aren't, or when tree nuts are left off the ingredient list of a snack. For millions of Americans with food allergies, this kind of mistake can be fatal. For instance, there have been cases where a single food product failed to list multiple major allergens at once, like peanut, soy, and wheat. This isn't a failure in preventing bacteria. It's a failure in paperwork and labeling, but potentially a catastrophic error. These stories aren't meant to scare you. They are here to show a very real consequences behind every recall notice. Whether it's a deadly pathogen, a foreign object, or a simple labeling error, the stakes are incredibly high. With all that is going on, how are you supposed to navigate the grocery stores without being overwhelmed? The good news is you can absolutely take back control. Knowledge and a few simple habits are your best defenses. Here is a key steps that you can take to keep your food safe. First, get your information from the source. Don't wait to hear about the recall on the evening news. The most direct way to stay informed is to go to the foodsafety.gov and sign up for email alerts from both the FDA and the USDA. You can also follow their official accounts on social media like at FDA Recalls and at USAF Foods Safety on X, formerly Twitter, for instant updates. There are also several food recall apps for your smartphone that can send you push notifications, which is incredibly handy. Second, if an alert pops up for a product you might have, you're going to need to verify it. Don't just go by the picture. Read the official notice carefully. It will list specific information like lot numbers, production codes, and best by dates. Check this against the packaging of the product that is in your home. If the number matches, you have a recalled item. So what do you do when you find one? The number one rule is do not eat it, do not cook it, don't even open it. Even if it looks and smells perfectly fine, it could be contaminated. The recall notice given will give you specific instructions, but generally you can return the item to the store where you bought it for a full refund. If you can't return it, wrap it securely before throwing it away so that pets or other people can't get into it. Afterward, it's crucial to sanitize any surfaces that particular product has touched, like a refrigerator shelves or countertops. A simple mix of 1 tablespoon of liquid chlorine bleach and 1 gallon of water works great. Finally, the most important tool you have is to practice good food safety every single day. Health agencies have repeated these same words for 4 years because they work. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. When you clean, you're going to be washing your hands with soap and water before and after handling food. Wash the cutting boards, utensils, and countertops with hot, soapy water and rinse fresh fruits and vegetables under running water. Separate. This is all about preventing cross-contamination. Use a different cutting boards for raw meat and for produce. Never put cooked foods back on a plate that held raw meat. Next, a food thermometer is your best friend. It is the only way to know for sure that you've cooked these foods to a high enough internal temp to kill any harmful bacteria. Chill. So then you want to get those perishables in the food refrigerator very quickly. Never leave them at room temperature for more than 2 hours. And make sure that your refrigerator is set to 40 degrees or below Fahrenheit. By making these 4 steps a regular part of your kitchen routine, you can drastically reduce the risk of getting sick, whether a part of food is recalled or not. It is clear that the world of food safety is more complicated than ever, and the recall headlines can be unsettling, but they don't necessarily mean that our food system is failing. More often than not, There are a sign that we've got much better at finding the problems thanks to amazing technology and stronger regulations. A recall means a potential danger was caught. While we cannot control the complexities of the global supply chain, we can control what happens in our own homes. The power is in your hands. By staying informed with real-time alerts, being diligent about the products that we buy, and practicing those 4 core principles safety rules by cleaning, by separating, by cooking, and by chilling, you can move from a place of fear to a place of empowerment. You do not have to panic. You just need to be prepared. So here I am going to make this delicious meal. My parents gave us some big batch of their homegrown basil. I did do most of the basil for pesto, and I didn't show it because most of you should know how to make pesto. If not, I can link my video that I made down below. I had seen on this other video about how you can also preserve and save some basil already pre-made. So at the very beginning of the video, you saw me squeezing some limes and some lemons. Now I did separate them because I did not want the limes in there. But I added some lemons, the lemon juice, some homegrown basil that I did rinse off, and some olive oil. And I put those in the ice cream trays. Now what you will do with those is when you freeze them overnight, then you go ahead and put them in a Ziploc bag. Make sure you mark and date them. And then that way, whenever you want to use fresh lime or basil in one of your recipes, you can take 1 or 2 or as many as you need out of the freezer. And that way, all those ingredients are fresh and you don't have to go ahead and make it every single time. What I like to do with my limes is usually put them in some nice ice cold water. Usually I do 1 cube of lime. You can also do that with lemon as well. I like to do it with lime, and it gives you a great lime flavor. Now this recipe here was very simple. I had just taken some pre-washed carrots and some onions, and then I did rinse off and towel dry all of those potatoes before we went and added them onto the baking sheet. I very simply just added some oil, my homemade Italian seasoning, some salt and pepper, mixed it all up, baked it at 400 for about 40 minutes to get it nice and crispy. I did put the temperature up to 450 for like the last 10 minutes or so. And then for that particular pork chop, what I did is patted dry the pork chop down, put some salt and pepper on both sides, fried them with some oil. After they were all fried and the temp was perfect, added some garlic, the fresh basil, and then I added about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of butter. Allowed this to settle and mix and get the juices all together. That was our dinner for tonight. It was absolutely delicious. I highly recommend using that recipe. And like I said, I've linked everything down below for you so you can go ahead and use that. I do want to say thank you so much for allowing me to come into your home today. If you do like this video, go ahead and please like, share, but most importantly, go ahead and subscribe. Click that notification bell. That way you receive all of my new and updated videos. And as always, keep on cooking. Bye.